Getting Kaelin back to the tavern was a nightmare. She was a dead weight, leaning heavily on me, each step a clear agony for her. I half dragged her up the rickety stairs to the small apartment above the crow's nest, my body screaming with a chorus of its own aches and bruises. Her rooms were sparse, clean, and smelled of her, that scent of smoke, steel, and storm. It was a warrior's space, not a home. I managed to get her to the bed, her armor and leather groaning in protest. "The water," she rasped, gesturing toward a small basin, and the green jar on the shelf. I found a salve that smelled of herbs and something faintly magical. My hands shook as I worked open the clasps of her leather armor, my fingers brushing against the damp linen of her tunic underneath. Her skin was fever-hot. I gently cut away the cloth around the wound on her ribs. It was a nasty cut, deep and weeping a faint, golden ichor, angel poison. I cleaned it as best I could, my touch as gentle as I could make it. Kaelin was silent, her eyes closed, but I knew she was awake. I could feel the tension in her body, the rigid control she was exerting over her own pain. After I applied the salve and bound the wound tightly, I sat on the edge of the bed, exhausted. Her eyes opened, finding mine in the dim light filtering through the grimy window. "You're a terrible nurse," she murmured, a ghost of a smile touching her lips, "but you're still here." "You saved my life," I said, my voice quiet. "I owed you a debt, remember. The debt was yours to repay on my terms," she countered, her voice gaining a little strength. "Not for you to throw yourself in front of a blade for me. Maybe I'm setting my own terms." The air shifted, the space between us shrinking until it was filled with a humming, dangerous energy that had nothing to do with angels or violence. It was the same charged current I'd felt at the bar, but 1,000 times more potent. She reached out, her calloused fingers tracing the line of my jaw, her touch surprisingly soft. It left a trail of fire on my skin. "Lucian will not forget this," she said, her thumb stroking my cheek. "He will hunt you now. You're tied to my world, to me." "Is that a threat or a promise?" I whispered, leaning into her touch, my heart beginning a slow, heavy drumbeat. Her stormy eyes darkened. "Both." She pulled me closer, her other hand coming up to tangle in my hair. The pain she was in seemed to vanish, replaced by a desperate, raw hunger that mirrored my own. I wasn't just grateful to her. I was drawn to her, to the power that emanated from her like heat, to the broken pieces inside her that I recognized because they matched my own. When her lips met mine, it wasn't gentle. It was a collision, a desperate claiming. It tasted of blood and pain and the herbal salve on my fingers. It was the most honest kiss I had ever known. I melted into her, my hands moving from her face to her shoulders, feeling the hard muscle beneath her tunic. The world of monsters and shadows outside this room ceased to exist. There was only the heat of her mouth, the solid presence of her body, and the overwhelming feeling of finding a safe harbor in the heart of a storm. As dawn began to paint the dirty window with streaks of gray and rose, a thunderous crash echoed from the tavern below, the main door splintering. Kaelin broke the kiss instantly, every line of her body snapping back into lethal focus. Her hand was already on the dagger she kept under her pillow. Our eyes met over the small space between us, the intimacy of the last few hours clashing with the sudden, violent intrusion. "They found us," she said, her voice a low, deadly growl, and in her eyes I saw it again, not a threat but a promise.